Alrighty, so welcome back to the channel. This time we're comparing two wireless earpieces from a boutique company from Lithuania known as Apple, I believe. As I mentioned in previous videos, I kept the AirPods Pro because I genuinely believe that they offer a decent product for the price. Now for the past year, they've been my go-to for when I want to listen to music on the go, completely unobstructed by any wires whatsoever. I was surfing through the web around Black Friday and I realized they released the Gen 3 AirPods. My curiosity grew when I realized their design changed dramatically and they introduced certain features that offered a great improvement over the Gen 2s. So without missing a beat, I jumped on it and I got these on sale for about 150 bones. So here we are. Which of these two will take the cake and become my go-to wireless solution? Let's find out. Now really quick before we begin, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, check out the Patreon down below, as well as the links for all the products mentioned, but you know how it goes. Thanks a bunch and let's jump in. So let's begin with the contents here. Their contents are really not all that different. They both come with the earphones, their own carrying cases, a lightning to USB-C cable for charging, and their manuals. Now the main difference here is that the AirPods Pro come with various silicone ear tips, a small pair, a medium pair, and a large pair. Now let's discuss the build quality and comfort here. There's really not that much to discuss though when it comes to build quality. They're both made of the exact same materials. Let me get up close here. It's that same white plastic. The cases have the same design except the Pro's case is a little bit wider. I believe I already showed that, but here, you can take a closer look. Now the hinge feels exactly the same on each of these. Only thing is, the Pro's case is a tad heavier, just a tad. Upon feeling them, it's partially that the AirPods Pro are a little heavier, and that the case for the AirPods Pro is a little heavier too. Now in terms of comfort, that's where they really start to differ. See, the Gen 3 feature a type of design where they sit on the tragus of your ears, while the AirPods Pro also insert their silicone ear tips gently into your holes. As for which is comfortable, yeah, no surprise, this is 100% up to your preference. It's really all going to depend on how each of these fits your ear and whether you prefer isolation versus the ability to hear your surroundings. See, me personally, I would prefer the extra security of the AirPods Pro, but there is a problem. We'll discuss this in detail later, but to summarize, they offer a setting to allow sounds to filter into whatever you're listening to, much like an open back headphone or something along this nature that doesn't completely plug your ears. However, it simply just doesn't work well for me. It still sounds quite muffled and artificial, while the Gen 3 just do it naturally. Now, the Gen 3 don't fit me perfectly, but here's where these come in. So I bought these ear hooks for both the Pros and the Gen 3. Unfortunately, the ear hooks pushed the Pros far too forward for me and began hurting my ear canals a little bit. By the way, these are for the Pros, as you can see back there. And these two are different hooks from different brands for the Gen 3. Now, as for the Gen 3, these particular hooks here seem to be the perfect pairing as they are thin enough to not interfere with the Gen 3's fitment while offering just the right type of stability that I require. Now, in case you can't see it, these also push against the rear of the tragus, which prevent them from falling. However, that's just me. It's important for you to try them all to determine which fits you best. So now let's jump into the functions. So these offer very similar functions, but we'll discuss the functions that are unique to each item here. As for the Pros, they offer noise cancellation, which I must say is very effective. Now, I don't need that feature in my real life scenario, honestly, because I work from home, so I just straight up don't. But if I did, it'd come extremely in handy. Now, as for the Gen 3, they offer Apple's newest head tracking software that, as the name implies, tracks your head movement to alter the placement of where sounds lie within that track relating to where you're facing. So if I'm facing forward, then I turn my head left, the drum set is still going to be over there, regardless of what direction you're facing. Honestly, I can only see this being truly useful for something like watching a movie or a TV show, though I doubt I'll be doing that with AirPods, if we're being honest. Now let's discuss range. So with the Pros, they started blipping at around the 39th step, but became completely lost at around the 47th. As for the Gen 3s, 47 steps out before they started blipping and went out completely. It wasn't a transitional period, it was just, they work, they sound great, then they don't sound at all. So in the end, the Gen 3 win it just because you'll get to enjoy a reliable connection for a longer distance, even if they both gave up at the same distance. Now here's an audio recording using each of these earbuds. Let me know which you think sounds better. So as you can see, I'm speaking at a regular volume, not, too loud, not too quiet. This is probably what I would normally speak like in a regular conversation. So you can decide for yourself if it sounds good, sounds bad, figure it out. Alright, so here's the recording with my AirPods Pro using nothing but my phone. This is the mic of the AirPods Pro. Let me know what you think this sounds like. Hopefully it sounds better than the Gen 3. I assume it would, but we'll see. And now we approach the sound portion. Now once again, the following tests were performed without the use of any EQ. Every product has been tested in stock configuration as well. Now let's jump right in. Let's start with the bass. The amount of slam is a bit greater on the Gen 3, but not by much. Both of these are still within the neutral side of things. Bass will sound warmer on the Gen 3 by a slight amount too. Neither one of these has incredible sub-bass or anything, but that little extra bit of emphasis that the Gen 3 provides can prove to make tracks a little more enjoyable. I will say, drums have a fuller presentation with the AirPods Pro. They're great on both, but there's this extra feeling of solidity with the Pros, while sounding a little more loose and free with the Gen 3. Bass guitars sound pretty adequate on both, but I say they'll sound a little bit clearer on the Pros. Now here's just a matter of whether you want a teensy bit of extra emphasis, Gen 3, or a teensy bit of extra clarity, the Pros. Let's jump into the mids. So huge points to the Pros for tonality here. See, female vocals are a little too forward and shrill on the Gen 3. Not enough to make me want to stop listening, but enough to mention a clear difference between the two. The Pros simply sound smoother and a bit cleaner. Also, male vocals will be a tad warmer on the Pros than on the Gen 3s. This time though, I don't have anything to complain about with the Gen 3s. That being said, let's jump into an example here. Tank by the Seatbelts. By the way, any of you see the live action version on Netflix? Most people didn't really like it all that much, but I personally really enjoyed it. It's definitely way off from the original, I know. But I don't know, I felt like it was great as a somewhat self-aware, cheesy, 80s action-y spy series with a few comedic moments in between. It really reminded me of like a Black Dynamite. Love Black Dynamite. It brought me a lot of nostalgia, and it wasn't just the same thing, but with like live actors. Sound off in the comments if you agree or disagree and why. Anyways, back on topic. Here's where I will wag my finger at the Gen 3. The Pros present an overall smoother and clearer presentation of instruments. Period. The Gen 3 still sound adequate, but instruments in the upper mids like trumpets and other high-end brass instruments can be a little too forward and harsh at times. So yeah, generally speaking, this is the one section where the disparity between the two becomes a little more apparent. Treble. So I tried Bangarang by Skrillex, and right off the bat, you'll notice that the highs are a little more forward on the Gen 3. They do give off a bit of ringing, particularly in the A's where the vocals say bangarang, Here's where the Gen 3 suffer a little more from that Bluetooth headphone effect. That is, when a Bluetooth headphone sounds a bit electronic and distorted. I won't sugarcoat it, the Pros just handle this track a lot better. They do. It'll be a track like this that will force me to lower the volume on the Gen 3 by 1 level. Now the sibilance region is about equally forward on these, but it's a tad smoother on the AirPods Pro. So yeah, this one goes to the Pros somewhat for quality, but mostly for control. Now, soundstage and imaging. So as far as soundstage goes, they're both relatively narrow as can be expected. However, the Pros are a teensy bit narrower than the Gen 3, which I surmise occurs due to their more closed design. Now, imaging, on the other hand, is noticeably better on the Pros. Once again, I surmise that their closed design allows them to isolate the music from the outside world more successfully than the Gen 3, even in transparency mode. Not just imaging, but the overall clarity of where instruments lie. Where they start and end. All of that is just simply a step up on the pros, undeniably. So let's discuss some notes and observations. First off, the pros. And by that I mean AirPod pros, not like pros and cons. So they offer that transparency mode, which allows the earbuds to blend the outside noise in with your music to simulate the feeling of wearing open earphones or open back headphones rather than an earbud. You can also toggle over to noise cancellation mode to prevent as much outside noise from interrupting your listening session. Well, I gotta say, noise cancelling is fantastic on these. I already said that, but it's true. But the entire implementation of this technology is not quite there yet. See, whenever I walk around or jog with these on, even if I'm using those to stay on my ears, which they do stay on my ears, I hear a squeak or a spongy sound effect that's just, it's far too noticeable to be ignored. It's detracting from the music experience and it's annoying, honestly. I'm pretty sure it's the ear tips, just kind of doing this, kind of squeezing in, but it's annoying. It really is. Now, the Gen 3. There is a bit of a flaw with the wireless functionality here. I'll be direct. On certain occasions, whenever I start a call, whether I receive it or send it, I'm forced to toggle the Gen 3 off and back on using the Bluetooth icon on the call screen. After all, the whole point of a wireless headphone is to roam around without having your phone on your person at all times. So the fact that these don't let me do that quite yet is annoying. And one final detail to bring up. I bought ear hooks, like I mentioned, and Comply Fit foam tips for these, by Deconi, yes. And here's what I encountered. So for the pros, these ear hooks simply push them too deep into my ear canal and causes soreness within, with the Comply tips added. If you're just using the traditional silicone tips, it kind of does that, but it still makes you a little sore. Now for the Gen 3, these silicone ear tips, those right there, proved to be a little too thick, which pushed out the earphones over time from the back. Thankfully, these are just right. So once again, I recommend these right here. I think the brand is Pizzaws on Amazon, and again, links in the description. I recommend these, not these. Conclusion time. So here's the deal. For most people who can comfortably wear either one of these two, it's a no-brainer. Do yourself a favor, spend the extra $50 or so, and get the pros. Plain and simple, buy the pros. While the Gen 3 are certainly an improvement from the previous iteration, the pros simply have them beat when it comes to functionality, sound quality, even sound signature. However, I'm actually gonna go against my verdict here. For me, the Gen 3 actually are a better choice. They're very lightweight, they're comfortable, they sound decent enough, and allow me to speak well enough without feeling that deprivation tank effect, which I feel with closed back headphones and in-ear monitors, or, in this case, earphones. No, earbuds, sorry. See, I don't think I'm disappointed with these results, but it would have been great if that sound signature could have been neutralized just a tad more on the Gen 3. Just fix out those spikes and peaks here and there. But yeah, that's about it. I made my choice. I think I'm keeping the Gen 3. I'll think about what to do with the AirPod Pros, and that takes care of that. So, thank you very much for watching. I hope this video helped your purchasing decision. Have a good one. Okay, ciao.